I started the year with 449 unread books on my shelf. It is a problem. We are working on it. And every month I pick books from this ridiculously big jar and I have to either read them or unhaul them, so get rid of them. But this month I'm feeling kind of picky, so I decided to bring back another challenge. I'm still reading the books on my shelf, but I get to choose a little bit more. It is my 1 week, 1 shelf challenge. So now that my shelves are organized in read versus unread, every shelf is a different genre. So I did give them some numbers, and the ones that only have a couple books, I did combine them to give me a few more options. So I will still be sticking to one genre for a week, but I get to choose in between a couple books just to give myself a little bit more space to choose and be a moody reader. 5 shelves for sci-fi. We have 4 for fantasy. We have 2 for mystery thriller horror. We have 2 for nonfiction. We have 1 for classics. Don't pick classics. And then I have 3 papers for my everything else. So literary fiction, contemporary, historical fiction, romance. What I used to not have a lot of, and now I do. So these are the options. I feel like, statistically speaking, it should be fantasy or sci-fi, right? But knowing my luck and the jars and now the cup, I swear I'm gonna pick classics. It better not be. Green is fantasy. We're okay with fantasy. Okay. 11, which means absolutely nothing to me right now. So all I know is that it's not the combined one. So let's go see what I read this week. And I get to choose. So these are all my unread books. And let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, shit. Of course, it's the shelf with the really, really thick ones. They're all big series, and a lot of them I have not started. Technically, this is part of my pile of shame. I have started it. Oh yeah, you can see it. And I have yet to finish it. So technically, I could just finish this. That could be really, really good. Or there are a couple series that I bought the whole trilogy without reading any, which I don't do that anymore, but library sells the books are like, they used to be for $4. So like, can you really blame me? No, for sure not. So I could try one of these 2. What should I do? You know what? Let's do this. Since this is meant to be a challenge and I still want to have fun with it, let's make some decisions. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the first chapter, couple pages of each of them, and pick whichever sounds the best to me and continue it. There is a chance I might not like them, and if I absolutely hate it for whatever reason, I can get rid of the whole series in one go. I just really don't know how this week is going to go. And if I don't enjoy either of these, then I will pick this one from the pile of shame, the pile of books that I started and never finished, and finish it. I think that seems very fair. It's still fun, it's still challenging, and of course I picked the shelf with the really thick series, but that's okay. I have some good options, so that's the plan. So we have Promise of Blood, the first book in the Powder Mage trilogy, which I feel like I had heard of, and then the Emperor's Blades. So 2 series that I know I had found these years ago on a list of like best fantasy series to read, and yeah, they've been here for at least 5 to 10 years. So let's start with these 2 and see how it goes. So I'm going to read the first chapter right now and decide which one sounds the best. I've read the first chapter, which was like 10 pages, and you're following a character who used to be an investigator for the police, and he's called to meet the king late at night. It's suspicious. Turns out there's a coup, and they're going to dethrone the king. He's going to get decapitated the next day. So there's magic also that sounds interesting. So I think I want to read this. I mean, it was only 10 pages, but sounds very strong. So I'm going to try the other one just in case. But, well, I actually really want to read this too. It was only 3 pages, but it sounds like you're following, I mean, the prologue at least, a god. And they used to have kids that were also perfect and that didn't die. And then that scene, he's trying to kill his daughter because she is aging. She has the rot and she has feelings too. So I'm assuming they're now humans. And that's imperfect according to the gods. So I really want to read this too. I mean, that's a good sign. I'm happy that I don't know what to read, but maybe I might try to just read both this week. I mean, that sounds a little ambitious, but like they're both about 500 pages. If they're good, I won't be able to put them down. So I would rather have 2 really good books than 2 I really don't like. But I think I'm going to start with this one just because the magic system sounded cool. So let's read the first 100 pages and then we'll reassess. Hey, so about that, I was planning on updating you once I hit 100 pages, and I'm at page 88. So I've read 78 pages since my last update, and I can't continue. I'm trying to respect, the feeling as soon as I feel it, and I did not, okay? I've been feeling this for a while, and I need to write, oh my gosh, I just noticed that there's a blurb by, however you call those, by Brent Weeks, which I had to give up on that author for a lot of reasons. So I am having issues with some descriptions. I'm finding them very distracting, and they keep taking me out of the story. I want to mention it's not just the female characters, but of course that's a huge portion of it. So let me start by mentioning what the plot seemed to be about, because there's just so much potential, and that's why I kept pushing, okay? Because again, everything I will tell you is not everything that happens, but 78 pages since my last update. So you have mainly these 3 male point of views so far. You have Adamant, which was the inspector that I saw in the first chapter, and you have Tamis, this man, and his son, which is Taniel. So Tamis is tired, okay? He is, older, and he's the one that engineered the dethroning of the king because he was wasting money, our population was starving. So he planned everything, and that night they killed all of the magicians of the king, and they are planning on doing a public execution the next day at noon. So the king, all the nobles, and the eldest sons. So there's going to be a bloodbath the next day, but they hired Adamant, the first guy, the first chapter, so the ex-police investigator, which is now, I guess, again, an investigator, because there's a little bit of a mystery. When they were killing the magicians, a lot of them started saying that same sentence after death. So, weird what's going on. So he's the one that is supposed to investigate what's going on. The magic system, there's like 3 different kind of magic, or magicians really, levels, and that sounded interesting, but again, I did not make it far enough to have enough knowledge to really comment on how good it is, because again, I started being distracted too much. Let me start by mentioning the first 3 female characters that are mentioned, okay, just to give you an example, because chapter 2 start and they're looking for the king, and they go into his harem, however you pronounce that in English. They're looking for a whore. That word is used so many times. And we don't have the name for the woman that they're looking for because she killed a few magicians. So like, she's strong and she disappeared. So, we only see her a little bit before I gave up. And it's important to mention it because she still doesn't have a name, but we get a pet peeve description. And I just need to say it because every time I just get more and more annoyed. And we're told that let me actually get the actual quote, but like, it's, the classic, like, oh, you could tell that she used to be beautiful. And I don't know how old she is because again, I did not make it far enough, but I feel like more often than not, when male authors write that, the woman is like 40, like, please. So I don't know if I'm going to find it. Does it really matter? I really hate that quote. And like, it doesn't matter that, like, in theory, it's fine to say it. It's just that when you see a pattern, eventually some things just annoy you, and that's one of them. The second female character that we're introduced to, she does have a name. Yay. But everyone refers to her as the Savage. So like, at that point, you're like, okay, I get it. This world is, patriarchal, and like, discrimination is a thing. Cool. She's from like a remote tribe, blah, blah, blah. But like, she's a redhead with fair skin and freckles and blah, blah, blah. So she's referred to constantly as the Savage. Nobody's addressing her directly. And yeah, she does have a magic, and she has a name, and she's mute. Cool. The third one we're talking about, she isn't seen on the page yet, but she is the fiance or the ex-fiance of Taniel, the son of Tamis, and she was found in bed with another man, so she's a cheater and blah blah blah. So okay, that's the third female character. So at that point I started realizing I will probably struggle to find an interesting complex female character in this story, so whatever. Which actually, you know what, there's technically one point of view by a woman in the 78 pages I've read. I don't know how, I'm assuming she's going to be important, but I've only seen her once, and her scene was an attempted rape scene. But that's, you're seeing a pattern with the female characters early on. But it's not just the female characters, like I was saying, because there's definitely scenes where the characters, male characters that are fat, their descriptions are just like grotesque. But I think that the best example, let me find that one, because it was almost funny, frankly, because there you go. You get a paragraph when Adamant, the investigator, is going to the university to question someone that he knows, trying to get some information, finding info in books and the libraries, blah, blah, blah. And you get a description of him walking in the hallway when he's walking past a painting of the vice chancellor. Prime Lecter, the vice chancellor, had been ugly even in his youth, with a purple birthmark obstructing a third of his face. Okay. Like, why are we discussing this? Like, why are you telling me this? And like, it's just random in the middle, and he's just continuing to walk, and it's just always things like that. I'm like, okay, again, on its own, I guess it's not a big thing, but like, it's just constantly saying things that are just so out of pocket. Because again, we don't meet the guy. Anyway, the reason I put the book down at page 88, literally middle of the chapter, is because he's having a discussion as they, were running after the woman that probably used to be beautiful, but not anymore. And he's working with two mercenaries. Actually, one of them is a woman, and you're told that she is not beautiful. She could be, but she has a scar on her face. So Taniel, the son of Tamis, has a conversation with the other mercenary, the man, and he's telling him, look, the soldier, we're having a bet right now that you are sleeping with the savage. And he refers to her as that, right? She thinks you're betting the savage. That's the quote. And Tanya replies, not exactly the bet of a gentleman. Like, it's like the narration is trying to make him seem like a good guy. And I'm saying that not lightly because, again, I'm not dead. So, he's saying basically that in an office, you would call him out. But, they're just soldier. So he says, no, haha, I used to be engaged until recently, so that's not happening. So, like, again, we're supposed to perceive him as a good guy, but the following page, he's like, I'm not engaged anymore, and I feel like it would really piss off my dad if I were to go after, and then he refers to her as the savage. Like, now that Taniel didn't have to marry at all, if he didn't want to, he could find a wife of his own, blah, blah, blah. And then saying Tamis, his dad, would be absolutely livid if Taniel married a foreign savage. Which I think is the perfect time to tell you, do you know how old she is? 14. She's a freaking child, and this is how you're talking about her. So that was my last drop. I really, really tried. I mean, like I said, this was 88 pages. And I didn't tell you every single annoyance I had. And like, it's just relentless. I'm trying to focus on the story. I want to be invested. I see the potential, but you just keep doing things that annoy me. Am I a bit sensitive? Maybe, but I am not enjoying it, which is, the point of the book. And I already know that when I post my review on Goodreads, I'm going to get someone being like, well, it's historically accurate. When is this set? Because this is fiction. This is fantasy. The author can write literally anything. That is totally allowed. But I'm also allowed not to like it. But my issue when people say that is just like, what world? What history? People are literally sniffing gunpowder. Like, that is part of the magic system. But yes, he is allowed to include, patriarchal views and blah, blah, blah. Like, even Tamis is like, yeah, I'm aware that there's going to be riots now that everyone, and he's aware that the people are going to go and kill the younger sons of the nobles and the daughters. So like, there's probably going to be more scenes like that, and I already had the attempted scene for the female characters. So like, I just I'm tired, and I feel like this is a good example of why I have been reading less fantasy, especially male authors. I feel like I have been focusing on authors I've already tried, or specifically the ones that have been recommended to me whenever it's like male authors, and just in general trying more female authors, because I really try to focus, and this just keeps taking me out of the story. I want to love it. I want to focus on the story, but like, there's a limit, and like, it's been passed a while ago and I kept pushing, and I can't do it. Why would I read something that is frustrating to me when there are a million books? I will not be able to get to every single one of them in my lifetime. So this is one book gone from the shelf. So technically an unhaul is still successful. I guess it's ultra successful because it's 3 books off of my shelves in one go. It's only one from the jar because I would only put one paper to represent a series. But again, -1 for the challenge, -3 for my shelf. So this is very spring cleany of me. So yeah, you can't see, but my Unhaul shelves are right there. So that's 3 books in one. It does mean, which is the really good news here, that I now have absolutely the time to read this one. And I mean, it's a little taller, but it's not as big. It's just under 500. I'm excited because I was intrigued by the prologue. I had only read 3 pages, but it sounded good. And I'm hoping that I will not have issues with this one. As long as there's no assault, you know, on the first scene of a female character, it's probably going to be a great sign. So yeah, fingers crossed though. You never know. So we need to talk. It took me 4 days to read the first 100 pages. I didn't think it was due to the book because clearly the other book was putting me in a reading slump. So I forced myself to read another day before I gave you an update. So I'm 164 pages into it and I finally have thoughts. So first of all, the plot. You're following these 3 children of the emperor who very early into the book is murdered. So who is going to be on the throne? There might be some assassins coming for them. Obviously it's a coup if he was murdered. So out of the 3 of them, the first one is the eldest daughter who cannot be on the throne because only a man can. I forgot to say, they are from this line descending from the gods. They have these burning eyes. So she has the eyes, but she can't be on the throne. The next one, you have the son who has been spending the last 8 years with the monks very, very far away. He does have the eyes, so he can be on the throne, and he feels like he's kind of been wasting his life there because he's supposed to be learning this kind of emptiness feeling, and he doesn't really get it until basically where I'm at, where you're kind of learning a bit more of what's going on there because of the prologue. So, descendant of gods, blah, blah, blah. Things were finally getting a bit more interesting there. And then the third kid is another son, and he does not have the eyes, so he cannot be on the throne. And he's been spending the last 8 years training to become a soldier who will be flying on these giant birds, and he is about to pass the final test to become one of them. That's why whenever there might be assassination plots because his father was murdered, he wants to go to his brother right away to try and warn him because again, he is very, very far away. And he can't because he has this one final test to pass. So this is what was happening. Unfortunately, in the last 60-something pages, things started taking a turn, and I'm sure my limit is very low at the moment, I'm aware, but I would rather put down a book a little too early than just put myself in a proper reading slump. So basically at this point, 50% of the female characters are either love interests or a whore, which I'm going to have to censor that word because I'm going to have to use it a lot and I don't think YouTube is going to love it. But it is the 3rd book this year, second in this video, where an author seems to be really into that word and overusing it. And I know that like in fantasy world, it will happen, soldier, there will be whatever. But I feel like there's like a very small subset of fantasy books where it's just weird. The author writes about it weirdly. I don't know if they're trying to humanize their male character, trying to make them seem like, oh, they're good guys because they're nice to the... I don't know, but it just does not sit right with me, and that's kind of happening here. I almost forgot. It's only one character this is happening with because the daughter is surrounded by older men, and that's the plot, and we've barely seen her. And the other son with the monks, it's only men. So it's only with the soldier and his classmates, I guess, the other female soldiers. For some reason, lately, they started being called bitches, and I'm like, let's chill a little bit with the... but yes, my main issue at this point is that it seems to also be including the trope that I cannot stand, which is fridging, so something horrible happening to a female character in order to advance the male story. So let me give you the context so you can see it for yourself if it bothers you or not. The male character's in town with another soldier, the girl he likes, and comes into the establishment, this woman who is... and her sister is also... and she just found her. So they go to help her to, you know, try to figure out what happened and give her a funeral. And when he's there, he notices the knots that are used to hold her into place when she was tortured and murdered. And the next scene with him, the same knots is being used on him, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, that's what I mean. Is it fridging? It looks like it. Not a fan. But just in general, the whole scene with it was just weird. And let me grab some of the quotes that did not sit with me. Okay, so as they are doing the funeral, because again, the little sister died. There's other men that came to see them, and one of them talks about how this is messed up that it's happening because he has been patronizing the girl since she was 13. And like, I get it, that means something about the character, and that's it, but like, yucky anyway. And just before, I don't know if it was the male character thinking that. Was it? Yeah, I think it's him. And he was like, oh, it was harmless enough. After all, no one was forcing the women to be. So, yeah, I just feel like just not having fun. And I did the ultimate test this morning. I opened the book and I had no problem reading it. So it's not me, it's you at this point. And like I said, I would rather give up on a book a little too early because things started barely beginning to be more interesting with the plot with the monk. But everything else, I just, no. So that's 2 books off of my shelves, actually. 3 books for him and 3 for the other one. So it's 6 books off my shelves, but it's 2 for the challenge since I only included 1 paper per series in the big jar, which I didn't really use. Which frankly, I feel like this is the ultimate moral of the story. I betrayed the jar and it made me pay, and I deserve it, quite frankly. So I will not be looking into the big jar to find the 2 papers. I will just make 2 more, and when I go through it at the end of the year, I will, remove them. But I needed 2 papers to put it in a small little jar. So let me just do that right now. So I have 2 more papers to add to the, I believe it was 8 that we already had. So that's 10 books off of my shelf. So we started the year with 449 unread books. So technically 439. We're not going to talk about all the books I have bought so far this year though. I have read some of the ones I bought though. And I think we're closer to like 25 read that were on my shelf when I first started the year. But my goal was never to get to 0. I would be extremely sad if that happened, but it's to force me to get around to reading books that have been on my shelf for too long, which I feel like this was the perfect example. It was brutal, but it was a pretty intense spring cleaning that happened. 6 books are now off my shelves. They have been there for probably almost 10 years, and they're exactly the kind of books I don't really want to read anymore. I don't know until I've tried them, but when I first started doing and watching Booktube, I would get recommendations on lists of like must-read fantasy and sci-fi novels, and then I kept having the same issues over and over again, so I kind of stopped reading as much fantasy and sci-fi, and this is exactly why. And it doesn't matter if I'm too difficult or not, like I really don't care. If I'm not enjoying it, I'm just going to stop. There's so many books out there that I could be reading, and they are just not the ones that I'm interested. I will just be donating them, and it's cool. I wanted to show you some of the books on my shelf because I've been asked what I read to do my degree in French literature, and I can't even tell you because context, these are all the classics I have read and the ones that I haven't. And I just did this big haul right here where, well, these are nonfiction, but like a lot of them are classics because I really wanted to read them, and I felt like I had nothing to read because I barely have any French classics, and the ones I have are like all big. And the English ones, there's also some really big ones. And like, I didn't love Russian classics, so these ones, I'm a little nervous. And like, I just don't have a lot of options. So that's why I needed to buy more so I could actually read some. I'm really excited by these. But the only ones I have that I have read are these. The problem I have is that I lost a box. The first time I moved out, one of the boxes that contained all my novels from my degree didn't make it. I'm assuming my dad, someone might have accidentally gotten rid of a box, and I only have like 5 or 6 books from university. I thought I would show you just for fun. So I did read that one, Voltaire classic, right? Candide. This is from high school. This is one of the classics. I read so much Balzac, but I own like 2 of the ones that I read for my degree. So Splendeur et Misère des Courtisanes. This one also from high school, La Promesse de l'Aube. I was asked so many times if I had read L'Étranger by Albert Camus, which, yes, 3 times for 3 different classes, and I didn't like it the first time. So you can imagine how much I don't like it, but it's on my shelf because I have read it. This is all from this channel. I have read these on here, this on here. These are more like poems and everything from, again, my degree. So Verlaine, Gilles Sénégar, Mallarmé, Le Père Goriot. Again, this is the only second Balzac I own, which I have read so many. One semester I had 4 classes and I had to read 16 books, and I own like 5. It's crazy. They're all gone. But yes, that was the last one. This is not translated in English, and this was high school. So yeah, everything else has been read on here. So it feels like I'm a fraud. I barely have any classics that I have read, but it's not my fault. It's my dad's fault. So it is what it is. I think that slowly I will be buying some of the classics that I remember reading and I liked, because I do want to eventually reread them. So it is what it is. Sometimes you just have to let it go and not be angry. So yeah, it was years ago though, so I'm not that mad. But yeah, I feel like a fraud. I have just that, a French classics, when I have a degree. But that's why I felt the need to repurchase some. I feel like right after, you feel really burnt out, and I didn't really want to read that much, and then I started a little bit on here and then burnt out again, and now I want to read some more, and they're cheap. The classics, they're everywhere, and I really want to go back to them. I feel like my taste in general goes through waves, so that's what happens. And obviously some of the challenges force me to go back to some things that have been on my shelves for years, which is what I really want this challenge to be about. The forgotten books. I don't want to get to 0 books that I own that I want to read. Ultimately, this is what this challenge is for me. It's not to get to 0, but to finally get around to reading the books that have been on my shelves unread for too long, and that I need a kick in the butt to finally pick them up, because it needs to happen. But yeah, I don't want to like force myself to do all of them in one go, because I'm going to get a reading slump like I'm kind of feeling right now. But I still have some fantasy, like hard sci-fi, and some high fantasy that have been on there for long. I need to get around to, like, I'm hoping that I'm going to get some surprises. Like, I don't hope I'm going to hate everything. Obviously, there have been surprises, but this is what the challenge is for. And we're slowly going through it. But $6, let me show you that shelf. It's empty. So these are all my unread fantasy, and look at this. That is a good spring cleaning session. $6 in 1 week. That's crazy. But yes, I do know that like some classic sci-fi are probably going to be a little rough. I know, I've been warned about some of them, and same thing for fantasy. But like fantasy, I've gone through most of the ones that I've been told I would probably not like, so it's a lot better. I'm a lot more excited to go back to it. And I've been really liking my everything else shelves, which is like historical fiction, romance, literary fiction. I've been enjoying these genre more and more, so I'm really happy to see this growing, and I want to read them, obviously. But yes, these are making me happy more and more. I don't want them empty. I just want them curated, because I want to be excited to read them, and some of them I had a feeling I wasn't going to. Overall, a brutal week that was extremely successful. 6 books off my shelves that are now in my Unhaul shelf, which frankly is overflowing, so I need to do an Unhaul video very soon. And 2 down for the challenge. So very happy, even though it wasn't necessarily the most pleasant thing to go through. I'm happy we're moving on. If you haven't seen the last one, I highly recommend it, because I found some actually really good books. And if you want to see the book haul I was mentioning with the classics, I will link that too, so you can check it out, and I will see you there. Bye.